Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I have a question to pose to you. Were you a child who was artistic? And when you were a child who was artistic, did you get those art sets like at Christmas time or a birthday? And do you remember them being really crap? Like, I remember when I was a child, they sucked then, and I feel like as an adult they're still going to suck now. But I had a brainchild recently and I was like, I wonder, can I make it work? I got myself a 180 piece art set that seems to be sufficiently bad. So today I am going to try to make good art, like in my normal style, using this. In order to make it as realistic as to how it was when I was a child, I have here a ream of printer paper. We're gonna open it up, we're gonna swatch everything, and then I'm gonna get into just painting like probably a landscape, and we're going to see how we can possibly make bad art supplies work. Here's our art set. Da, 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 da. What do we have? Some of the sets that I was looking at when I was going to buy these, I noticed that there seems to be just a load of repetition. Like, we have the exact same set of crayons and oil pastels here as we do here, and then it's the same with the felt tip pens. We've got the exact same. And like, I noticed that with another set that I was looking at, there was a set that was cheaper than this. The paints, it had 4 or like even 6 of the exact same paint palettes repeated, and I was like, a bit strange. Crayons, so I'm presuming these are waxed base, and then we've got oil pastels, which I presume are oil based, markers, coloured pencil, watercolours, felt tip pens, a ruler, and then we have a paintbrush and a pencil. We will start off by swatching everything first. Like I was saying, plain old printer paper, because we're going old school with this. Starting off, it's very not pigmented. They're so pale. They seem to be mostly wax and not a whole lot of colour. There's no white in any of these. The black's actually I'm pretty impressed with the black, to be honest. Oh my god. That is no better. I sincerely have my doubts that this is oil based at all. I'll swatch all of them and see, but there's really not a whole lot of difference. I think these are all just crayons. I'm gonna come out and say that. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but these feel waxy. They do not even feel... I use cheap oil pastels in my work. Like, I am not adverse to cheap oil pastels, but I am not sensing any oil in how these are going down. We're off to a really uncertain start, and I can only assume these are water-based. As expected, not bad, and I will not be surprised if I come across ones that are already dried up. Okay, here we got one. That one's a little bit dried out. I wonder, I used to do this when I was younger. I have my water here for when I get to the paints. I used to dip the tips of them in water, and I wonder about that. Oh! It's re-wetted it, but probably not made it more. It's worked a little bit. It's just made it a little bit less pigmented. Oh, and it's super dried out. You know what I'm actually going to do first? I'm going to take out the... Are you in? Can I take you out altogether? Oh, that's so annoying. The actual, like, paint cans themselves are, like, stuck within the plastic of this thing, so I can't take them out. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pre-wet them. I'm just going to get this guy loaded with water. I'm just going to absolutely saturate these as much as I can. I'm going to let those guys chill out there, and we will continue with swatching. Pencils. Fantastic. They're not that bad, honestly, though. Okay, that yellow's way more pigmented than the other ones were. Okay. So far, pleasantly surprised with the pencil. I'm feeling these colours so far. Our pencils are... I think the pencils and the markers are the best so far, but I think pencils will win out slightly because they aren't dried out and you can't make them dried out. That's the same colour. They are the exact same colour. How? The nibs are different colours. Oh, look. They're like definitely different colours, but... Okay. Did I still, no. They're extremely similar colors, okay. They're like really similar. Now felt depends. Everything so far has been water-based apart from the crayons. So I'm thinking if I do a big piece with these, I should add the crayons last, because if everything else is water-based, they should all sit on top of each other fairly fine. So yes, I'm thinking for layering, I will probably do paints, then probably markers, then pencils, and then the crayons. We only have 3 of these markers left and none of them are dried out, which is wonderful. We're going to try out the pencil. Obviously this pencil has no like H value written on it, so I can't say what exactly it is, but I assume it's just like a HB probably. Yeah, it's definitely on the harder side. I'd say it is probably HB. Okay, and let's see how all these rub out. The rubber seems to work fine. It seems to erase the lighter lines, not really the heavier lines. The lovely nice brush is going to go away and it's going to be replaced by this lovely nice brush. Let me give you a good view of it here. Ta-da! It's yeah, it's a brush. It's definitely a brush. Let's see what we can do. I unironically like how the pigment is not consistent in this paint. It has instantly stained my brush. The paints are significantly better than I expected. Again, if we're looking at this from like an artistic perspective, which I don't think we should be because it's a children's art set and that's not what it's made for, but for the fun of the video, we'll look at it that way. I think one thing this palette really lacks is contrast, in that like these are all nice, but if you were to turn them black and white, I feel like they'd all sit very much in like the lighter mid-tone range, apart from this black and maybe this darker green. We're gonna bust out my palette. This is actually nicer than the palette I normally use. Here we go. Here's some black and green, and it is like a nicer darker green, but I don't like mixing black with things. It has made a lovely muted one, not such a bad olive tone green. My inner child loves these colors. Printer paper, she's struggling. She's definitely looking kind of wibbly wobbly. Paints, you can tell there's chalkiness in them. We're gonna see how everything layers over. Crayon test. Oil pastel quote unquote test also lays over nicely. The pigment does lift, that's what I mean by chalkiness. They basically turn into pastels. Marker, I feel like the marker could re-wet the paint a little bit. Pencil, no joke, seems to be more pigmented on the paint than it does on the paper. Surprising win, there we go. Felt tip, nice. And then I also might try to see how other paints layer over top. The layer test has went well. I think time to get into a painting. I think it would be more fun to do for landscapes or something like that. And that way I could like maybe try different techniques and try different pieces and all that. So I think I'm gonna try that. And I'm only using what's in this kit and printer paper. So I'm gonna use the ruler to make little borders. Okay, so I've done the first paint layers for the first two paintings. I feel I might try the other paintings with just doing markers because now that these are fully dry, the paint is actually literally flaking off the page. So that's not good and not really what I was expecting to happen. It's probably just because I used the paint quite thicker than it's like kind of intended to be used. So I think we'll just try markers for the base layers on the other ones. I will, however, just try and go in on these ones and add uncertain about adding pencil details. I will add marker details, but I feel like pencil will just be too harsh on the page and result in like more flakage. But I tried my best. This was looking fairly decent. I'm fairly happy with this one, to be fair. I think we can probably salvage some of this bit where it's come off quite a bit. And then this one, I've tried to go for like a grey autumn day, but you can really see texture and not in a good way here. A lot of graininess and streakiness, and it's very hard to mix colours, particularly without using any white as well. I found that a bit of a challenge. So I'm going to try adding some marker details to these pieces. Then I will probably go in for the other two pieces, do markers, and then maybe crayons and pencils on top. Definitely the most challenging piece, I'd say. These materials really are like hard to use, particularly with like the printer paper. You can see it's not handling the water very well, but you know, I think that's like recognizable as my art, which I am proud of. And I'm proud of having made this with bad materials. I just think these are straight up like not good materials. The markers are, I'm interested to try the markers on their own, but definitely now that the paints are dry, they are not at all easy to work with as mixed media. And even on their own, like when they're dry and if you've used them thickly, they really just flake off so badly. But you know, I think all things considered, a pretty good effort. So we'll go in and we'll try this autumnal piece now, and we'll see how we go with painting this one. This is piece number 2. I think this one is decidedly worse. Like I tried to add a little bit of contrast by adding in black, but then the black was too intense, and it's messy and it did not layer well at all. This is like the back of the page. Okay, this one's bad. This one's bad. This one's good. This one's bad. So on to the second one. I might do like another piece similar to this with markers, but have it in like sunset-y kind of vibes, perhaps. This is the third piece. This one I think turned out not so bad. So I did do a mix of stuff. So the sky I did first of all in markers, then I went over with some pencils. And then the bottom here, I did really like on the swatch that I did of the purple paint, how it kind of separated, and you could see that the blue pigment separated from like the pinky pigment, and I actually liked the effect of that, so I thought that would be fun to do for the hills in the bottom here. So that's what I've kind of done there. And then I've gone over them in markers and pencils, and the marker kind of removes the paint underneath a little bit. So, but again, I was having issues with the flaking, but I think this is definitely top tier. This one's good, and then this one's kind of just bad, but you know. And I might try and do like a nighttime bluey purple scene here. I'm gonna do the marker stuff first, but I do have an idea for our wax crayons, in that in order to make them more like easier to use so I don't have to press down on the paper as hard and split all the paint, I might heat them up, like melt them a little bit before. So I'll do my marker stuff first and then I'll see about trying out the crayons. So let's see. That was a fun experiment. I mean, they did turn out kind of wonky, the spatters, but I think they had a fun texture to it. There we go. So I think this one was bad, but I think these three here pretty decent. And I think it's like a good example that you do not need the best materials in the world to make good art. I will fully admit that this was harder than I expected it to be. Just like having to work around the limitations of these materials was a little bit difficult. But aside from that, I'm actually impressed that I pulled it off, because I was somewhat hesitant and somewhat convinced that if I tried to do this, I would start it and it would be an awful disaster and then I'd have to give up. But I think overall, you know, good effort. Best out of a bad situation. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I hope it maybe sort of, I don't know, teaching you a lesson sounds bad, but you know, it like has shown that you really do not need the highest quality things to make somewhat decent art. Would these paintings have turned out better if I had used my gouache and pencils that I normally use and my oil pastels and all that? Yeah, 100% it would have. But are these ugly? Apart from this one, that one is ugly. Are the rest of these ugly? No. So there you go. Break out your crappy materials today. I hope you enjoyed watching this, and let me know if there's anything else you'd like to see me try out or test in the future. I hope you have a wonderful day or night or whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!